Okay, so you want to own Roblox, build a platform, fill it with games, watch the kids pour in, and collect a cut of everything they spend. That's the picture in your head, and it's not a crazy picture. Open Roblox on any Saturday morning, and it looks like the most frictionless money machine ever assembled. Tens of millions of children, all inside one app, all buying things, all the time. You watch that, and you think, whoever owns this is sitting on a printing press. Here's the problem. You are looking at the most expensive part of the business to run and mistaking it for the profit. The truth is that Roblox is not really a gaming company. It is a two-sided economy that happens to have cartoon avatars in it. And the moment you understand that difference, everything about how Roblox makes money and how it quietly loses enormous amounts of it starts to make sense. Let's start with what this platform actually is, because the label gaming company is doing a lot of misleading work here. Roblox does not make games. It makes a place where other people make games, and then it takes a cut when anyone spends money inside those games. The people building the experiences are mostly unpaid volunteers, hobbyist developers, and a smaller number of professional studios who have figured out how to turn Roblox's internal economy into a real income. The people spending money are overwhelmingly children under the age of 13, and sitting in the middle collecting a toll on every transaction is a publicly traded company in San Mateo, California, that has never once in its history as a public company posted an annual profit. Read that again. One of the most recognizable platforms on the planet, host to over 88 million daily active users as of its most recent filings. A company with its name on the screens of an entire generation of children has not made money in any year since going public in 2021. Not because nobody is spending. The spending is enormous. Roblox generated roughly $3.6 billion in revenue in fiscal year 2024. The problem is not the top line. The problem is everything underneath it. Now, here's where the naive mental model starts to collapse. When a child's parent loads $10 onto a Roblox account, that $10 does not become $10 of revenue to Roblox. It becomes Robux, the platform's internal virtual currency, and that Robux sits on Roblox's balance sheet as a liability, not an asset, until it is actually spent inside an experience. Roblox only recognizes the revenue gradually, as the currency gets used. This is the first structural quirk that makes Roblox's finances look different from any other consumer business you might compare it to. The money arrives, the revenue follows later, at a pace determined entirely by how fast children decide to spend. But the currency conversion is the easy part to understand. Here's the harder part. When that Robux does get spent, when a child buys a special sword, an avatar accessory, a pass to unlock a premium game area, Roblox does not keep the majority of what was spent. The platform's revenue share arrangement means that the developer who built that experience receives a portion of the Robux earned. After conversion back to dollars through Roblox's developer exchange program, the developer typically nets somewhere between 24 and 30 cents for every dollar a user spends in their game. The rest flows back toward Roblox. That sounds favorable to Roblox. It is on that individual transaction. Here's where it stops being simple. The cost of actually running the infrastructure those transactions happen on is staggering. Roblox spent approximately $1.1 billion on infrastructure and trust and safety costs in fiscal year 2024 alone. Infrastructure meaning the servers, the cloud computing capacity, the data pipelines required to keep 88 million simultaneous users inside persistent virtual worlds that never go offline. Trust and safety meaning the moderation systems, the human reviewers, the AI tools, and the legal compliance machinery required to run a platform whose primary audience is children, in an era when regulators around the world are paying close attention to exactly that. That last piece deserves its own conversation because it is the cost most people never think about when they look at Roblox's business. A gaming platform for adults can make certain assumptions. An adult who spends money has consented to spend money. An adult who sees advertising has consented to be marketed to. An adult who interacts with strangers online has made a choice. None of those assumptions apply when your daily active user base skews heavily toward children under 13. In the United States, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, governs what data can be collected from users under 13, how it can be used, and what parental consent mechanisms must be in place. Violating it is not a technicality. The FTC fined Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, $275 million in 2023 for COPPA violations. That is not a rounding error. That is a nine-figure bill for getting children's privacy law wrong. Roblox itself reached a settlement with the FTC in 2024 over allegations related to its handling of children's data and virtual currency practices. The details of enforcement actions in this space are still developing, but the direction is clear. running a platform primarily used by children is not a discount version of running a platform for adults. It is a fundamentally more expensive, more legally exposed, more operationally complex version of the same business. Every design decision, how refunds work, how purchases are confirmed, how strangers can contact each other, how moderation is enforced, has a legal dimension that a platform like Steam or the App Store simply does not face at the same scale or intensity. This is the hidden tax that sits underneath every dollar Roblox generates. Now, let's talk about the currency itself. Because the Robux economy is the single most important and most misunderstood structure in this entire business. Robux sells for roughly $0.01 per unit at standard pricing, though bulk packages shift this slightly. A child who wants to buy a limited edition avatar item priced at 1,000 Robux needs a parent to spend approximately $10. That transaction is immediate, straightforward, and legible to the parent. What is less legible? And this is the design choice that has attracted the most regulatory scrutiny, is that the conversion back from Robux to a real-world price requires a mental calculation that is genuinely non-trivial for a young child to perform in real time, inside a game environment, specifically designed to be exciting and fast-moving. This is not an accident of design. It is the foundational mechanic of virtually every virtual currency system ever built. Remove the dollar sign. Replace it with a number that feels abstract. Watch purchase resistance drop. Roblox did not invent this. Every casino on the planet uses chips for the same structural reason. But Roblox deployed it on an audience of children at enormous scale. And that specific combination is what has made Roblox's monetization practices a recurring subject of regulatory and parental concern across the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom simultaneously. The FTC's click to cancel focus on subscription services and the broader international regulatory trend toward transparent pricing for virtual goods aimed at children is moving in one direction, toward making virtual currencies function more like real ones. If Roblox is ever required by regulation to show the real dollar price of an item alongside its Robux price at the moment of purchase, the friction that the virtual currency currently eliminates returns. And with it, the conversion rate almost certainly falls. That is not a guaranteed outcome. But it is a risk sitting directly underneath Roblox's primary monetization mechanism. Here's where a second structural reality complicates things further. Roblox's developer ecosystem, the 88 million users, the millions of games, the entire feeling of infinite content, is built almost entirely on unpaid or minimally paid labor. The platform currently hosts over 40 million experiences. The vast majority of those were built by people who made no money at all from the work. They built because building on Roblox is itself a form of play, because Roblox provides the tools for free, and because the dream of a breakout game that generates real income is just plausible enough to keep the developer community producing. The top end of that ecosystem is real. A small number of Roblox studios generate millions of dollars a year in developer exchange payouts. The game Adopt Me, built by a small independent studio, has been played billions of times and has generated enough Robux to make its creators genuinely wealthy by any measure. Those cases are not fiction. But the structure underneath them is closer to a lottery than a salary. The overwhelming majority of developers on Roblox earn nothing. The platform's free labor supply is the single largest hidden subsidy in its entire cost structure. If Roblox had to pay market rates to developers to produce the content that keeps its users engaged, the company's cost base would not be twice as large. It would be unrecognizably, catastrophically larger. Now here's the real question. If Roblox has $3.6 billion in revenue, a free content supply, and a captive audience of tens of millions of daily users, why is it still losing money? The answer is in a single line item that dwarfs almost everything else on the income statement: stock-based compensation. In fiscal year 2024, Roblox paid out roughly $900 million in stock-based compensation to its employees. This is a standard practice among technology companies, particularly ones that went public recently and need to attract and retain engineers, product managers, and executives in one of the most competitive labor markets in the world. It is also the number that makes Roblox's losses look significantly worse than its actual cash position. When stock-based compensation is stripped out, a move that is technically defensible, but that financial analysts argue about constantly, Roblox's adjusted EBITDA looks meaningfully less dire than its GAAP net loss suggests. But here is the honest version of that argument. Stock-based compensation is real. The shares issued to employees are real shares. They dilute existing shareholders. They represent real economic value transferred from the company to its workforce. Adjusting it out of your loss figure to make the business look healthier is exactly the kind of accounting maneuver that sophisticated investors spend their careers learning to see through. Roblox is loss-making. The degree to which it is loss-making is a legitimate debate. The fact of the loss itself is not. This is the Carillion problem, scaled to Silicon Valley. A company can look busy, look large, look essential, and still be structurally consuming more than it produces every single year. Before we get to whether any of this is fixable, there's a third layer of risk sitting underneath the business that rarely comes up in the coverage: age. Roblox's core demographic is children between the ages of 9 and 12. That is not a stable demographic. Children grow up. A 13-year-old who played Roblox at 9 is now standing at the exact age threshold where the platform starts to feel like something younger kids use. The cultural signaling around Roblox, the blocky avatars, the association with elementary school, actively pushes maturing users toward other platforms. Fortnite, Minecraft, Valorant, eventually Steam. This churn is structural, not behavioral. Roblox cannot fix it by making better games. It can only address it by making the platform compelling enough for older users to stay, or by replacing departing users with new young ones at a sufficient rate. The company is aware of this. Its public statements consistently reference efforts to expand into older demographics, to make Roblox a platform for social connection and entertainment beyond childhood gaming. The immersive concerts, the brand collaborations, the push into experiences that don't look like children's games. Some of this is working. Daily active users have continued to grow, but the revenue per daily active user, the amount each person actually spends, remains structurally lower on Roblox than on almost any comparable platform, because children's spending is mediated by parents, because the purchase amounts are small, because the platform's pricing architecture was built around a demographic with limited disposable income and no credit card. So here is the math, in plain mechanical terms. Roblox's revenue grows as its user base grows, and as it extracts more spending per user. Its costs are anchored by infrastructure, trust and safety, and a compensation structure designed to retain talent in a city where engineering salaries are among the highest in the world. The gap between revenue growth and cost reduction is the only path to profitability. And that gap has been narrowing slowly. Roblox's losses have shrunk over the past 2 years, as the company has worked to cut costs and grow revenue simultaneously. Analysts who cover the stock point to 2027 or 2028 as the plausible window for the company's first GAAP profitable year. That is a long runway, and a lot can happen on a long runway. Now, the two scenarios, because this is where the picture splits into two very different versions of what this company is actually worth. In the optimistic scenario, Roblox successfully ages up. The platform becomes genuinely compelling to teenagers and young adults, not just children. Revenue per user rises as the demographic skews older, and as users acquire their own spending power. Advertising. A revenue stream Roblox has been carefully building through brand partnerships and immersive sponsored experiences begins contributing meaningfully to the top line, supplementing the Robux economy with a second, higher margin revenue source. Infrastructure costs grow more slowly than revenue as the platform scales more efficiently. By 2028, Roblox posts its first profitable year. The stock, which has traded at enormous speculative valuations since its direct listing, finally has earnings to justify the price. In the realistic scenario, regulatory pressure on virtual currencies aimed at children tightens further. A major jurisdiction, the EU, the UK, or a newly motivated FTC, requires real price disclosure at point of purchase. Conversion rates fall. Revenue per user stagnates. The demographic aging problem proves stickier than the optimistic projections assumed, and the platform's association with childhood remains too strong to shake among the 13 to 17 cohort that was supposed to be the growth engine. Infrastructure costs continue scaling with users faster than revenue per user grows. The losses narrow more slowly than the market expects. The 2028 profitability target moves to 2030, and the stock, which is priced for a profitable future, re-rates downward in the meantime. Neither of these outcomes requires a scandal. Neither requires a product failure. The difference between the two is measured entirely in the pace of regulatory change, demographic retention, and cost discipline, three variables that the people running Roblox can influence but cannot control. Walk through the actual numbers one more time. In the optimistic year, revenue per daily active user rises meaningfully. Advertising becomes a real revenue line. Infrastructure costs grow slower than the user base, and Roblox's adjusted loss shrinks toward break-even. In the realistic year, Robux conversion rates soften under regulatory pressure. Older user acquisition proves expensive and slow, and the cost structure refuses to bend at the pace the model requires. The company doesn't collapse in either version of that story. It is not Carillion. It is not Bally's. It has genuine revenue, genuine users, genuine cultural relevance, and a balance sheet that has so far supported the losses, but it is also a business that has never demonstrated it can make money at scale. In an industry where the product is free, the content creators are largely unpaid, the primary customers are children, and the regulatory environment is tightening in the one direction that makes the core monetization mechanism more difficult to operate. So if you do decide you want to own Roblox, remember the thing that actually determines whether the investment ever makes sense. It was never really about how many children you can get to log on. It's about whether the economy those children are playing inside can survive the moment it has to function like a real one.